And a warm welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global TV News Prime in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. President Bola Tinubu will be launching the Renewed Hope Police Town Hall meeting on Monday in Lagos in a bid towards strengthening community policing and for Nigerians to key into the Renewed Hope Police for his administration. Announcing this on Thursday in Abuja, the Minister of State Police Affairs, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, stated that he would be engaging stakeholders on Monday in Lagos. She added that the town hall meetings would be held not only in Lagos but across the country to afford Nigerians the opportunity to air their views on issues surrounding the security of lives and property in accordance with global best practices. Vice President Kashim Shettima says the federal government is set to rebuild Tudumbiri village in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State, which was hit by a misfire from drones belonging to the Nigerian military. Vice President disclosed this after visiting the victims of the drone misfire at the Barodiko Teaching Hospital in Kaduna State, where some of the casualties, most of whom are women and children, are receiving treatment. Kike Lomo Okere has details.
According to the Vice President Shettima, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed that the Polako initiative should be kick-started in Kaduna State with a complete package including houses, clinics, schools, veteran clinics, empowerment initiative and solar energy among others in Tudumbiri community as a way of compensation for the destruction caused by the drone misfire. He, however, directed the management of the National Emergency Management Agency to mobilize and provide adequate support to the victim of the tragedy in Tudumbiri village.
With the people and government of Kaduna State, especially the inhabitants of Tudumbiri who were affected by the unfortunate incident a couple of days ago. We will complement the efforts of the Right Honorable Speaker, but ours is a complete package as well, including houses, clinics, schools, veterinary clinics, empowerment initiatives, solar energy. It's a complete package of solutions. It's a non-kinetic response to the problems of banditry and kidnapping in the Northwest.
The Vice President, who spoke at the meeting with the leaders and other stakeholders of the community, noted that President Tinubu is worried about the tragic incident, adding that the Polako initiative is the President's unique response as a non-kinetic approach to the challenges in the Northwest.
The President approved the commencement of the Polako initiative by next month. The Polako initiative is the President's unique response as a non-kinetic solution to the challenges in the Northwest. Beneficiary states are Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, and for the purpose of equity and justice, we deliberately included Niger and Benue State.
The Vice President noted that investigation is being conducted to prevent reoccurrence of the incident, and the report is expected to be submitted in the shortest possible time. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has said President Bola Tinubu's administration will continue to take hard decisions to make things work in the FCT and entire Nigeria. Wike says that the project he is embarking on in the FCT were born out of hard decisions taken by his administration to deliver on the presidential mandate. The minister made this known in Abuja during the official flag-off of the second phase of resurfacing and remedial works on some roads within Highbrow Asokoro district. He said Tinubu's administration has good plans for Nigerians, but hard decisions must be taken to actualize it, though through the Renewed Hope agenda. The Nigerian Senate's Committee on Labor and Productivity, led by Senator D.K. Plank, has taken steps to augment the 2024 budget of the Labour Ministry, aligning it with the ministry's proposed allocation of 13 billion. This action was prompted by a motion raised by Senator Tahi Monguno during the committee's meeting with the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong, the Minister of State, Honorable Nkiruka Onyejiocha, and other ministry members at the National Assembly complex in Abuja. Sandra Akpa has the details.
Senator Monguno emphasized the committee's authority in appropriation, asserting that they possess the power to adjust the budget as necessary.
This budget as presented by the executive is not sacrosanct. It's subject to tinkering by the legislature. So as such, we have all the powers of appropriation. This is very clear and unequivocal in the Constitution. The power of appropriation lies with the National Assembly. So if in our wisdom and in the wisdom of our appropriation committee and the leadership that the allocation that is made given to the Ministry of Labor and Productivity is grossly inadequate, we have all the powers to tinker it and increase it in tandem with the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President.
This committee, that what has been submitted, what has been estimated, or the envelope given to Ministry of Labor and Productivity should be increased? Yes. Is it all your opinion? Yes.
Expressing gratitude, the ministers highlighted the challenge of inadequate funding in the Labour Ministry. Minister Simon Lalong pointed out that insufficient funding for labor issues contributes to civil unrest in some African countries.
There was a strike everywhere. There were reasons for some of this strike. If the ministry is well funded, there will be no strike in Nigeria. There will be no strike in Nigeria. You can see most of the African countries now, they are collapsing and people are now changing government because the workers are not adequately kept.
Sandra Akpa reporting for Global TV News.
The federal government has announced plans to shut down public buildings that do not comply with the minimum standards of accessibility for persons with disabilities from January 17th. The Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, James Lalu, disclosed this while briefing newsmen in Abuja. Lalu says the Commission would swing into action immediately after the expiration of the 5-year ultimatum given to organizations by the federal government, which is expected to elapse on January 16, 2024. He says the Commission would engage all relevant stakeholders to constitute a special task force to ensure the implementation of the accessibility law. The NCPWD boss also says the Commission would ensure that organizations not only comply with the accessibility requirements, but the 5% employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. The World Health Organization on Friday says antimicrobial resistance may lead to 10 million deaths by 2050 if urgent actions are not taken to reduce its burden. The World Health Organization has also expressed worry over the increasing use of antimicrobial medicines, saying that the total global antibiotic consumption in humans, animals, and agriculture increased by 30% between 2000 and 2010. It declared that AMR is one of the top 10 global health public threats facing humanity. The technical officer of AMR at the World Health Organization Nigeria office, Dr. Laxmikant Shavan, says this at the 7th annual conference of the Association of Nigerian Health Journalists in collaboration with the World Health Organization in Nasarawa State. The federal government has announced the imminent enforcement of the Disability Rights Act starting in January. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, made this known while addressing journalists in Abuja on World Disability Day in Abuja. She says the act, in an effort to protect the rights and improve the lives of people living with disabilities in Nigeria. Fauzia Lukman has details.
The Disability Rights Act was passed by the National Assembly in January 2019 after several years of advocacy by disability rights activists. However, the legislation has not been fully enforced until now. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation says the enactment and implementation of the Disability Act is a deliberate collection of data of persons with disability, adding that the Act covers a wide array of rights, including the prohibition of discrimination against persons with disability in various sectors such as education, employment, healthcare, and public transportation. However, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation further called on speakers at the State House of Assembly to domesticate the Act.
The Disability Act has made provisions to prohibit all forms of discrimination, marginalization, and abuse of persons with disability. The government is already putting in place mechanisms to establish an access to work scheme for persons with disability. We're challenging all the speakers and the state houses of assembly to quickly swing into action, working with the executive to domesticate this act.
Executive Secretary, National Commissions for Persons with Disability, NCPWD, explained that the act is aimed at eradicating discrimination and ensure equal opportunities for every citizen, irrespective of their physical or mental abilities, adding that the Commission is transiting from the era of advocacy to the era of enforcement to ensure the provisions of the law are properly enforced.
It is the law of Nigeria that if you discriminate against a person with disability, there are sanctions. If you approve a building without following the code, you can be imprisoned for that. All persons with disability must be insured with the NHIS. We're looking at the bill to set up a deaf university.
The House Committee Chairman on Disability, Honorable Bashir Daudu, shed light on sanctions on the discrimination of persons with disability and proposed establishment of a university for the deaf in Nigeria.
A lot of enforcement is here. By January, the Commission is expected to move out in full force to make sure that the provisions of the law are properly enforced. The Commission will start meeting with its own partners, compose the task force immediately before this Christmas. Everything will be on ground before the roundup of this year, so that as we come early next year, the task force will be inaugurated. Immediately after inaugurating the task force, immediately by the time on the 16th of January 2024, our assessment may not only end on the physical facilities, but the composition of the staff in these institutions. We want to know how many they have as persons with disabilities, the total number of the staff in these institutions, and then the maintenance of the 5% in these institutions. So we have to find out all of this so that we can be able to know whether they comply with the provision of the law.
It is expected that the Enforcement Act passed into law will enhance the inclusion and accessibility of persons living with disability in Nigeria. Fauziya Lukman, Global TV News.
In a bid to eradicate the form of injustice in the judicial system on individuals detained and further go on trials without having access to lawyers, the federal government, in partnership with the legal stakeholders, have launched the Police Duty Solicitor Scheme, PDSS, to help curb out such practices in the system. Sharon Ajay completes the story.
The Chairman Police Service Commission, Solomon Arase, says the natural right with enhancement of fundamental human rights of individuals, unless otherwise proven, should be duly respected. He emphasized on the need to push the scheme forward as part of its aim for the voiceless to be heard, decongesting the police cells of innocent people.
In view of the rising incidents and complaints from the public bordering on violation, infringements of people's human rights by the Nigerian police force, the introduction of the PDS in response to the imperative outlined in the Administrative of Criminal Justice, which the Attorney General just alluded to, was a watershed moment in our commitment to safeguarding the rights of individuals in police custody. Historically, detainees faced prolonged periods in police facilities without access to legal representation, leading to routine violation of their rights. The PDDS, driven by a commitment to justice, has become a mechanism through which lawyers provide free legal services to detainees across Nigeria, ensuring that their rights are not only protected on paper, but upheld in practice.
The Attorney General, Lateef Fagbemi, ably represented by Director Solicitor Department Gladys Odugbaru, in a speech urges all states to domesticate the scheme for full benefit of innocent prisoners and the government.
The scheme also comes with the advantage of preventing undue congestion of inmates in correctional facilities, with the consequential benefits of saving government the resources required to maintain a large population of inmates or detainees. I therefore enjoin all the states to domesticate the PDSS in order to extend the benefits of the scheme across the country and further deepen criminal justice reforms.
Based on the financial aid gotten by the federal government, the Director General Legal Aid has assured a successful operation of the scheme. Also added that the more the funds, the better the work.
But we can assure you that with the little that we have been able to be getting from the federal government in terms of our appropriation, in terms of statutory funding, we have been able to do as much as we can be able to do. But it is not to say that we cannot do more if we have more funding.
Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
Ogun State government has announced 15 million naira reward for anybody who could provide information leading to the arrest of the killers of Taiwo Oyekomi, the former Director of Finance and Administration attached to Governor Dakpo Abiodun's office, Okemosan Abeokuta. Oyekomi, aged 51, was last Wednesday, November 29th, killed by gunmen at the Kuto flyover bridge at Abeokuta. The gunmen killed the Ifonyi Tedo Bon, chartered accountant, and made away with the huge cash. Governor Dakpo Abiodun, who said that the killing of the senior civil servant left his cabinet devastated and traumatized, promised not to leave any stone unturned until the killers are brought to justice. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons has said it rescued and retrieved 21,181 victims of human trafficking in 20 years. The Director General of NAPTIP, Fatima Waziri Aziz, said this when she appeared before the Senate Committee on Social Duties for the defense of the 2024 budget. She said the agency would try to support victims as long as they needed to be supported, noting that the process required time and a lot of money. She explained that NAPTIP provides legal, medical support, rehabilitation, and reintegration support to victims. You're watching Global TV News Prime, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When the News Prime returns, beware of counterfeit Naira banknotes in circulation. The news continues shortly with details of this and other stories right after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the News Prime from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. On the foreign scene, Hunter Biden was indicted late Thursday on multiple counts of tax evasion. The second time this year, President Joe Biden's son has been charged by a special counsel investigating his personal and business dealings. Hunter Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme to not pay at least $1.4 million in self-assessed federal taxes he owed for tax years 2016 through 2019. Special counsel David Weiss said in the 56-page indictment filed in U.S. District Court in California. Biden was charged with 9 counts of failing to file and pay taxes, tax evasion, and filing false tax returns. The indictment shows the new charges serve up more acute embarrassment for Joe Biden as he wages an uphill battle for re-election and fends off a Republican bid to impeach him on grounds that he benefited from his son's overseas business dealings. The government of Canada has announced that the cost of living financial requirements for study permit applicants will be raised significantly starting January 1st, 2024. The government says the increase is necessary to ensure that international students are financially prepared for life in Canada, which has become significantly more expensive since the previous requirement was set. This change, announced by Immigration Minister Mark Miller on Thursday, reflects the rising cost of living in Canada, which has outpaced the previous financial requirements set in early 2000s. International students provide significant cultural, social, and economic benefits to their communities, but they've also faced challenges navigating life in Canada. We're revising the cost of living threshold so that international students understand the true cost of living here in Canada, according to Miller. Miller disclosed that starting January 1st, 2024, single study permit applicants will need to demonstrate that they have at least $20,635 CAD available, in addition to their first year of tuition and travel costs. Salvos of rockets were launched today at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad's heavily fortified green zone. The mission says the latest in a flurry of such attacks amid the Israel-Hamas war. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. The United States leads an international coalition battling jihadists in Iraq and neighboring Syria, and its forces have come under repeated attacks for recent weeks. The attacks came against the backdrop of the more than 2-month war between U.S. ally Israel and Iran-backed Palestinian Islamist militant group Hamas in the Gaza Strip. A week after dozens of miners were buried by a mudslide in Zambia, the government says on Friday it was committed to rescuing all those still trapped underground. Vice President Mutale Nalumango told Parliament that operations to retrieve the about 36 workers will continue indefinitely after a survivor was pulled from the rubble earlier this week. The miners became trapped last week when torrential rain set off a torrent of mud that buried the open cast mine in Zambia's main copper belt region. A 49-year-old was rescued alive on Tuesday evening after 5 days below ground. Nalumango says the man is undergoing treatment at a local hospital where his condition has greatly improved. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he will stand for re-election in 2024. According to Russian news agencies, this will allow the Kremlin leader extend his decade-long grip on power into 2030s. The 71-year-old has led Russia since the turn of the century, winning 4 presidential ballots and briefly serving as prime minister in a system where opposition has become virtually non-existent. Putin told Lieutenant Colonel Artem Zolga, a Russian military officer, about his decision to participate in the vote following an awards ceremony for army personnel at the Kremlin. And the attention of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has been drawn to the circulation of counterfeit banknotes, especially higher denominations, by some individuals for transactions in food markets and other commercial centers across major cities in the country. For the avoidance of doubt, Section 20, subsection 4 of the CBN Act 2007 as amended states that it shall be an offense punishable by a term of imprisonment of not less than 5 years for any person to falsify, make, or counterfeit any banknote or coin issued by the bank which is legal tender in Nigeria. The CBN is in constant collaboration with relevant security and financial agencies to confiscate fake Naira banknotes, arrest and prosecute counterfeiters. Members of the public are also encouraged to report anyone suspected of having counterfeit Naira notes to the nearest police station, branch of the Central Bank of Nigeria, or via contact CBN at cbn.gov.ng. And in business, African Development Bank Group President Akinwumi Adesina has warned that a new EU carbon border tax could significantly constrain Africa's trade and industrialization progress by penalizing value-added exports, including steel, cement, iron, aluminium, and fertilizers. While addressing delegates at the Sustainable Trade Africa Conference held at the UAE Trade Center in Dubai, Adesina said with Africa's energy deficit and reliance mainly on fossil fuels, especially diesel, the implication is that Africa will be forced to export raw commodities into Europe, which will further cause the industrialization of Africa. Africa could lose up to $25 billion per annum as a direct result of the EU carbon border tax adjustment mechanism. The National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, and the Rural Electrification Agency, REA, of Nigeria have sealed a $150 million battery manufacturing deal with a Chinese firm. This was disclosed in a statement by the Chief Executive Officer of NASENI, Khalil Halilu, with the deal one of the gains of the United Nations Climate Change Conference, otherwise called COP28 in Dubai, United Emirates, UAE. He added that the agreement was signed on December 8, 2023, under the leadership of the Nigerian Federal Ministry of Power and the China Ministry of Ecology and Environment. The partnership, according to him, will facilitate the establishment of lithium-ion battery manufacturing and processing factory in Nigeria. The initiative is backed by a US dollars of $150 million investment from LEMI, with operations scheduled to commence in phases starting from the second quarter of the year 2024. The NASENI CEO says that the signing of the cooperation agreement is anticipated to serve as a pioneer initiative for the Light and Belt Initiative in Africa. He added that this would help to align with global efforts to drive climate technology development and transfer. In sports, Minister of Sports Development John Eno has stated that the second edition of the National Para Games holds immense potential for discovering and unearthing new talents who will represent the nation with pride in the world of para sports in the near future. The minister made the statement during a briefing in Abuja as the nation eagerly awaits the opening ceremony of the 2023 National Para Games starting today to December 14th in Abuja. The National Para Games is not just about competition and winning medals. It is a platform to showcase the incredible talent and determination of athletes with disabilities. We're confident that this event will unearth new stars who will go on to achieve great things for the nation on the international stage, according to the minister. The Los Angeles Lakers failed by 30 points from an ageless LeBron James, routed the New Orleans Pelicans 133-89 on Thursday to reach the final of the inaugural NBA in-season tournament. James and the Lakers will take on the upstart Indiana Pacers for the NBA Cup in Las Vegas on Saturday. James, who will celebrate his 39th birthday on December 30th, was ruthlessly efficient, connecting on 9 of his 12 attempts from the floor, including 4 of 4 from three-point range. He piled up his 30 points with 5 rebounds and 8 assists in less than 23 minutes the floor. He sat out the entire fourth quarter as both teams pulled their starters. The Lakers had taken full control, outscoring the shell-shocked Pelicans 43-17 in the third period. And that's it on Global TV News Prime. Don't forget, we're on StarTimes Channel 2, 76. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.